Hi there, my name is Jane Slimming and I'm the Managing Director of ZAL Media. We're a full-service digital agency based up in Leeds but service clients from all over the country really, from Scotland down to London. Apologies for the old photo, much shorter hair, much smaller team, but the only one I could find at short notice, I'm afraid. So yeah, that's basically all I'm going to say about us, just to give you a little bit of background. And today I'm going to be talking about predominantly a Google phrase that is coined the zero moment of truth, which I'm not sure if any of you may or may not have heard of, but it's quite a nice way of packaging up the change in marketing. So I'm going to talk a bit about the traditional marketing model, how that's changed, what we think the future of marketing is, but also then go on to what does it actually mean for you, because I wanted to do a presentation where you actually take something away as opposed to you know, just kind of sitting through something and thinking that was nice. So hopefully you'll be able to walk away from the kind of half-hour session with some actual action points to get into. So this is the traditional marketing method. You have your trigger point, which may be a TV ad, a press ad, some kind of stimulus that allows you to know that the product or service is there. In the kind of more traditional method, you then want that product and go into a shop and buy it. So for an example of a TV, you might see a TV, a Samsung television advertised, you think, I want to buy it. You go into Currys, you buy it. And this is the old-fashioned kind of first moment of truth. When you actually buy that television, is it what was advertised on the TV commercial? Is it the same price? Is it the same spec? And then really your second moment of truth is when you take it home and you use it. And this doesn't just apply to products, it can apply to services. So, you know, legal firms or accountancies or any kind of service provider, you have a stimulus, your first moment of truth, which is when you actually see it or you use it, and then your second moment of truth, which is, you know, kind of ongoing usage. The future of marketing really is around this kind of zero moment of truth, and this is applicable to retailers but also again kind of service providers. Now the zero moment of truth is basically you still see the TV ad or the press ad, or you know, you meet somebody at a conference, you still have that initial stimulus, but instead of going straight to purchase, you go to research phase. So for an online retailer, the average number of research is people on average research 6.3 different points of contact before they make a purchase decision online. And this really is the huge growth in marketing and is really allowing consumers a level of truth that didn't exist before, because they're hearing what your product or service does from 6.3 different points of reference. You still then have the first moment of truth, so you buy the product or service and you engage in it in that way. And the second moment of truth becomes a little bit more important, because it's not just that person that takes the product home and says, yeah, it's great, or no, it's not great. They then produce this content, and that content becomes somebody else's zero moment of truth. So how we're starting to look at things now is, okay, what does this zero moment of truth look like? And also, how should you be splitting your marketing budget? Usually, traditionally, you spend, you know, hundreds of tens of thousands of pounds on your stimulus, and you know, you've already got your product, and you don't really kind of think about how to follow it up. But realistically, that's not how we should be looking at marketing budget kind of going forward. I think I've just said that. So let's start at the beginning, which is basically your product or your service. Often in marketing conferences, the last thing to be mentioned, but what do you do? Do you do it well? Are you sure you still do what you think you do? Mystery shopping, you know, kind of ring up your own company as if you were a customer. What is the level of service like? Test your own product. Do you know everything about it? And also, what do other people think about your product? Because a lot of the time, your own perception is different from the actual reality. And then also, what is your shelf? So do you sell online? Is it a website? Is it a physical shop? Is it a phone call? Is it a meeting? Is it kind of retail? You have to look at actually where you're selling your product, because that's people's first engagement with you from a truthful point of view, not what you're telling them, but what they're really understanding of you. The second moment of truth, which is, again, usually what people don't spend as much budget on, but is really important is your kind of customer relationship management program. So how often do you talk to your customers about what you do? How often do you email them? How often do you call them? Do you do follow-ups? Are you asking them if they've had a great experience and you know you're really strong in this department? Are you asking them to tell other people? There's that old thing about if you've had a bad experience, you tell 10. If you've had a good experience, you tell 2. And that's more and more kind of important online. I think this whole move into the zero moment of truth and content marketing is really exciting for people who have a really good product or service. If you've got a shitty product or service, it's scary because more people are going to be telling people that you're not very good at what you do. So realistically, again, it brings a level of truth to marketing and advertising, which, you know, scares a lot of people. I used to work with a double glazing company, which I won't mention, and, you know, this kind of model is terrifying for them because they're not very good at what they do. We have other clients who have fantastic products and have fantastic service, and this is, you know, this is great for them because everybody loves them as a brand. So the zero moment of truth I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of because this is kind of the newest thing, or the thing that a lot of the different speakers are talking about. And it's a combination of reviews, content, social strategy, organic promotion, blogger outreach, and this is really where kind of the growth market is, and this is a lot of what our clients do and what we do. So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about these different areas. So organic promotion, you may have heard SEO's dead. Quite a dramatic statement there, but we still kind of say SEO, but we do it in a very, very different way. Predominantly, we do a lot more blogger outreach with a combination of link building. So the difference between blogger outreach is it's more brand driven, it's more alive, it's more about social following, it's a more natural kind of link profile, whereas link building is a lot more keyword driven, a lot more about kind of your website statistics and also very link specific. But the best way of showing this is actually just to show you it. So this is an example of a link that's been built, a piece of content that's placed on a website. No offense to the website or the link, but it's very, very flat. It's quite dull. It's not engaging. The actual piece of content has got 0 comments or engagement, whereas this is an example of some organic promotion. So this is business cards that have been placed on a review site, a blogger site. You can't see it, but down here there's a lot of different comments on it. They also did a giveaway, and what they've done is obviously they've pushed your message through their own social profiles as well. So you can just straight away see the difference between a static link and organic promotion. And this can be done across every sector, every budget, every single, you know, service or product offering. But just go out there and find people that are talking about what you do. And it's very simple. Go onto Google, type in a little bit about what you do, and then just filter your searches by blogs, and you will find bloggers that talk about what you do, and just start to engage with them. It's not rocket science what we do. It's really just be a normal human being, talk to people, you know, get people excited about your product and give them something. I think the other thing is not to think about, oh, what's in it for me, what am I going to get out of this, or what's my client going to get out of this, but what's the blogger going to get out of it, because then they'll engage with you on a much deeper level. Social media. I'm sure you will have heard a lot of talks about social media. I'm going to keep it quite brief, although I could talk about this for hours, which I won't, I promise. But essentially, social media does so many different things. It allows you to communicate directly with your audience. It allows you to build an online community. It's fantastic for a brand to get personality out there. I don't think there's a single product or service that you can't inject some personality into. Even if you are, you know, medical or quite serious, or insurance, or you operate under FSA regulations, you know, you can still inject some kind of personality, and social media channels are a really, really good way of doing that, and allowing people to see actually what does your brand stand for. You know, are you extremely trustworthy? Are you fun? Are you exciting, innovative? Whatever you are, make sure your social channels are really showing that. quite a complicated slide here, but these are basically the different forms of social media, because a lot of people say, okay, well, how do you do social media? How do you actually do it? Do you just set up a Facebook page and then, you know, every so often say, oh, I'm going to get a coffee, or the sun's shining today? And yes, you do that to a certain extent. It's essentially combined of daily posting, so making sure that you are daily communicating with the audience. Try not to kind of start conversations, but try and join conversations. So really understand what your customer base want to hear, and you know, try and give them content to do that. It's also a lot about community management, so customer service. I'm sure everybody's heard about terrible customer service where, you know, things have been put on Twitter and, you know, nobody's responded, but also about really good customer service. Like a lot of big brands now are, you know, going back to people and talking to people in a language that, you know, is their own language. So a big phone company recently had, you know, some problems, and people were complaining, and they were like, hey, chill out, it's just a phone, you know, don't worry about it. So it's about making sure your tone of voice is right as well. There's also advertising that you can do on these channels, paid for, to kind of raise your brand awareness. And obviously campaigns, so competitions or social media campaigns based around content, which is the biggest thing. And I have to apologise for this terrible slide. It's really badly designed, and I was meant to keep redesigning it, but then didn't get time, so sorry about this. But the whole point of this is to say that essentially none of what I've just talked about, so organic promotion, social media, PR, anything is possible without content. Because if you don't have content, you just cannot do the kind of all the stuff needed for the zero moment of truth. The zero moment of truth is all about content. So there are two ways of doing content: make your own content and brand it and put it out there, or take content already created and basically curate it, so reuse it. And both ways are applicable depending on the size of company and you know, budget that you have. But it's absolutely crucial. And content can be a number of things. It could be a little video we did here for an electronic cigarette company, little infographics, it could be a Q&A session, it could be images, it could be you know, article submissions, it could be a number of things. But I would say go away and have a think about actually what content do you have already, and what further content can you actually produce, because a lot of this can be produced in-house. So yes, content is absolutely crucial to make this happen. And then somebody asked me, like, I think on the first day, what did I think was going to be the biggest change in digital marketing? And I said content, and I also said the development of digital marketing into brand. So traditionally, digital marketing has always been a direct response mechanism. If you spend £235 on PPC, I'll get you £475 back in terms of revenue. And that's how it's always been sold, and that's really why it's grown, because it's so accountable, it's, you know, it's so responsive, and it still is. But to be honest, as the market fragments, brand is so important. So you have to have a really consistent and a really strong brand, so that every time anybody sees your brand at any of these touch points, be it a blog or a review site or a social media profile or a TripAdvisor review or anything, you know, your brand is consistent.